Great, thank you. Welcome everybody. We've got just 40 minutes for a workshop to share with you some of the ideas and learning that we've had at NDTi through a programme called Time to Talk Next Steps. My name's Alice McColl. I'm the development lead for children and young people at NDTi. And I'm joined by John Ralphs, who's our associate I work very closely with on that programme. And I think it's fair to say that most weeks we talk about co-production because this programme has really thrown up some useful learning, but also some real challenges. And I suppose we just wanted to share them with you today. So please use the chat because it is lovely to know you're there. And if you're having ideas or you want to share things you're doing that, or, you know, things that resonate with you, please do use that. And at a certain point, we'll be sort of asking people if you want to put your camera on and share your reflections. That would be really useful. Thank you. We called it co-production and tokenism because I think you'll probably all be familiar with that massive tension between knowing that co-production is absolutely fundamentally important and we have a statutory duty to co-produce the work that we're doing, not just with children and young people, but with families and parents and carers. And I think those presentations this morning were really useful in reminding us around that. And then how do you actually make it happen in a way that doesn't feel tokenistic to the people involved? How do you manage this tension between knowing what you need the outcome to be because of your role, or knowing when you know it needs to be done by, and then actually doing it with integrity and creatively? And I suppose those are the things that we grapple with. So that's where we're at in terms of our title today. So just a bit about NDTi. We were mentioned by Philippa this morning because we're part of that RISE consortium. And many of you will know us. We've done a lot of work on the Preparation for Adulthood programme, and we still have all sorts of resources and tools that we regularly use in this programme that we're going to speak about today for that. And John will give you a lot more information in a minute about how we do what we do at the moment. But the point at the bottom is important in terms of we're a not-for-profit organisation, and our mantras really around inclusion are enabling people's voices to be heard. And that's across a range of different ages, actually. We have an older people's programme as well. And co-producing all our programmes and resources. And a lot of the way we work is to celebrate what's possible. And we also constantly sort of challenge ourselves on how to build self-determination, how to embed ways in which people who are in receipt of either services or support are actually determining how they should be developed, and their voice again is heard. So we know that a lot of people in this conference are doing a lot of fantastic work. So it's not really about the answers, but it's just to share things from Time to Talk Next Steps, because this programme is unusual for us at NDTi. It's a project that was co-produced from the very beginning with young people with additional support needs and parents and carers. And it was in the pandemic in 2020 that we had a pilot. And we were providing online support for young people with additional support needs and their families. And Contact, our partners, are still an important partner in what's now a 3-year programme that was based on the evaluation of that pilot. What's been challenging, but is also really exciting, is that the young people that we have met through the programme and continue to meet very often changed the project. So they wanted to set up peer support groups, meet each other, not just people who were providing them with support for their confidence and using person-centred planning tools. People like John and I would meet individual young people or indeed their family members online. They actually said, well, we want to meet each other, some of them. So we've set that up. And today we're going to speak to you about the work that's emerged, I suppose, from the project around young people that we're working with, some of them wanting to and working towards developing training for professionals. So overall, this programme has always been about building confidence, building emotional resilience, and using our experience of the preparation for adulthood programme, but also our contacts around the country, many of whom are on the conference today, to make sure that we're really helping young people who have felt incredibly stuck or continue to feel stuck. They might have dropped out of education or struggled in education for years, and find themselves aged 18, 19, at home in their rooms with very little social interaction and really unsure about how to move forward. And perhaps parents and carers feeling pretty stuck as well, or really in need of some support. So that mention of family support is really important, that we had this morning, and we'd echo that. We're really about enabling young people, if they want to, if they've developed enough confidence, and some of them really do quite quickly engage on this, others don't, but to actually take on change, and not just their own change, but in this case, they are actually helping develop a programme of training for professionals. So I've mentioned it's a 3-year project, and it's one of many in NDTi. And the bit that John's going to sort of talk about is the one with the pink wobbly line. So that's the young people have these options, if you like, and very often they'll start with that relationship building in the yellow box or orangey box, where we're really hearing young people. We're talking about what matters. We're having one-to-one time, and very often we'll explain our role as not being a professional. We're very fortunate in that we're very flexible as a result of our unusual kind of role, but we're also, I mean, when I've done the work, I would describe myself as a fan. You know, I am somebody who's here to hear about you and only you initially. And what that can do is really open up all sorts of exciting conversations, and that can lead to the other boxes, if you like, that are on this screen. So, John, I'm going to hand over to you now on the training for professionals. Do you want to do this one, John? You skipped this slide last time.
Yeah, that would be great. I've actually put myself on I've unmuted myself, which has been amazing. So that's a thumbs up. But yeah, that would be really good if people could put that into chat. Yeah, so as I'm talking, that would be really good. So I think, Alice, I think that's spot on, really. So there's a small number of us that provide one-to-one support with young people with additional needs, all online. And we have that kind of thing, would you like to provide some training? And so we have about 10, maybe 12 young people that said, yes, we'd like to train professionals. So myself and a guy called Barry have set up a training squad, we've called it, and where we are working towards young people delivering training. Interestingly, we're going for a 45-minute session as well, like we've got today. I felt today that so much rich, big, busy information over 2 hours, my brain's a bit frazzled. I don't know about you. And I like the idea of a 45-minute quick session to get people thinking. But if it's okay, I'm just going to share a little bit about how we've gone through that process. So young people can request support themselves, their families can, or professionals do. And we've got over, I don't know, Alice, 150 young people through, you know, that have accessed time to talk. And now that we've got about 12 young people. We've been meeting since October, and we meet on a Thursday at 5 o'clock every 2 weeks for 45 minutes. And I just popped a question. I love Margaret Weekly. She says, we move in the directions of the questions we ask. So rather than me telling young people, all that me and a guy called Barry, who's been supporting this training program, have done is just ask questions, really. So I think my job and Barry's job is to hold the space where young people feel comfortable, they feel supported, We have a bit of fun. We have a lot of dialogue. We use chat. We use different things to try and think about training. And I've just put into chat the image that I shared with young people, and it's starting with why. If you've done a bit of management stuff and you know Simon Selleck, and you know he says you should always start with your purpose, rather than getting busy and doing the what. What are we going to do now? What's the training going to look like? You know. So that was the question that I asked young people: is why do you want to train professionals? Why do you want to train professionals? And we spent I say 45 minutes, and I got really excited putting a post-it note stuff up. You know, those kind of virtual post-it notes you can use, and we were clustering our kind of ideas around. And one of the young people just said, this is too busy and too confusing. I don't like these post-it note ideas. I'm thinking it's the best thing since sliced bread. And something straight away I kind of learned is it's not about you, John. It's not about creating some lovely kind of stuff. Actually, let's listen to what young people are saying. So against my better will, I had to create a Word document for young people, which is, as would know, is not my forte. It's not what I like. I'd rather draw it than actually write it. But it's working with young people, you know, and that's what they said. So we kind of spent some time just asking the question, why? Why do you want to train professionals? And we came up with 4 things. So some people said, you know, you need to start with your values. So they shared their experience of professionals in classrooms. They shared their experience about, actually, some professionals are really nice and they cared about us. They didn't just teach us. You could see the difference between being taught and to be cared for. And we said, okay, so it's something about values there. So that was the kind of first thing that we did. The second thing is that they were saying that often professionals were seeing them as a set of labels, a checklist that we try to avoid when we do our time to talk stuff. We just start with where the person's at, where the young person's at, and what matters to them, rather than looking through our criteria of what we want to tick off. So see us first, see us as a young person first. And something that I picked up on when I've been working with young people and in with the training squad is actually, do you know, they all have super strengths. And so when we look beyond their set of labels and we see them as individuals and young people first, actually their diagnosis can be a super strength. So we were thinking, actually, autism has a great strength about it. Somebody with ADHD goes 100 miles an hour with a million ideas in a multi-dimensional way. Let's use that. You know, people are so different. So we were looking about young people's super strengths, thinking about seeing them first. The other thing that we heard young people saying is that you know, it's about choice making and decision making as well. And we heard that young people felt that they weren't involved so much with their choices and their decision makers. And again, it was through these 45 minutes kind of chats, really, where we just have a bit of fun. We have some creativity. So listen to us and help us make our own choices. And then the final thing, the other kind of theme that came through was the why you want to do train professionals was about professionals tend to judge us straight away. They see our behaviour, they see what we do, and they judge us without really understanding us. So they came up with, well, be curious professionals. You know, think about understanding why we do what we do, rather than just judging us or making these kind of assumptions as well. So those are the kind of 4 areas that we've come up with. And we were looking about maybe delivering a half a day or a day session. But again, listening to the young people says, why don't we split it into, like we've been doing, every Thursday at 5 o'clock to 5:45 in the evening? Why don't we just run 4 sessions? It feels right. We can give our energy. We're not going to get overtired. So we're going to run 4 sessions around these 4 kind of whys we want to do that. So so Alice has kind of clicked through. You probably can read quicker than I can around those kind of four reasons. So and so the next bit is how. So we said once we know, once we know, we need to start with our values, and that's something why we want to do training. Well, how are we going to do that? So they started saying, well, what is a value? Our values. Do professionals have the same values at work And do they have different values in their day-to-day life? You know, do their values come out different with their family members as they do as professionals as well? So we said we need to start asking professionals. So we're kind of moving into the how to the what. Us professionals, do they use their values that they have in everyday life? Do they use them? And then we started exploring our own values. We talked about kindness and listening and understanding. And actually values give you strength. So that was something else they talked about. So we're doing some training around the first session around that. The second session was about seeing us as a young person first. And we said, actually, do you know, sometimes professionals see us as just a set of labels. They don't see us as, you know, we're super cool. We know how to use Procreate and create amazing pictures. Actually, I can sample sounds and make amazing music out of it. I have a great eye for detail. I can ask really incisive questions. Often they see us as autistic or sensory impaired or whatever it might be. So we've got some ideas there around you know, professionals, how would you like to be introduced as a set of labels? And when I thought about that, I said, okay, let me have a go at introducing myself. So hi, my name's John. I'm overweight. I'm visually impaired. I think I've got an undiagnosis of ADHD. Welcome, you know. And I thought, actually, do you know, that's an awful way of describing me. When I'm John, creative, I love to have fun. I think I'm kind. I think I give good listening skills. Do you hear the difference? So young people have got some ideas. And then the other bit, some other ideas we had was around finding what really matters to young people and using that into our training, so the how. So young people absolutely love Gogglebox. So I'm not going to tell too much, but we might have a little Gogglebox slot in there as well, where young people are sitting on the sofa watching some kind of interactions going on, and we'll do some kind of learning there. The other bit I want to say is that both Barry and myself were holding the space and really using young people's super strengths. And we've done some training last year, and we just said, how do you want to contribute, really? What is your super strength and how do you want to do? So I've mentioned a few already. So we had somebody that couldn't make the training, but boy, did they have incisive questions. So they came up with 4 amazing questions, and we just recorded their voice, and they kind of, you could hear them like speaking those questions, and then professionals, the people at the workshop, had to answer them. While people were thinking about those questions, we had another guy, and I mentioned, and I said to him, he creates music, and he often samples sounds in the environment, and he creates this ambient music. And I said, could we use some of that in the training? And he says, yeah, no problem. Actually, I'll create some, especially for you. How long do you want it to be? I said, well, about 90 seconds. So he created a bespoke bit of this amazing ambient music that we played after we had this incisive question. We had another person who used their super strength. They're into football and they're doing a coaching qualification. So they used their knowledge of coaching and football, and they got up their team board. So they held up their team board with a kind of football pitch on, and they talked through some strategies about being resilient as well. So I guess I'm saying there's a few things there. One is that Barry and myself just hold the space. We have fun. We hear what matters to young people, and that's our starting place. Barry's actually brilliant about, well, hang on a sec, John, before you race on to the next bit, let's just hear from everybody what they think about that. And let's just go around everybody. So Barry's good about pulling the brakes back and making sure that everybody's included, everybody's involved in decision making. The other bit I think that's going well is that we use people's strengths. We start with what matters. We try to get everybody fully. We don't talk about equal power. It's about making sure that everybody are fully empowered. They bring their best self. We don't try to get an equal playing field. It's what you bring. And if it's a Procreate drawing that we use as a PowerPoint backdrop, and that's all you want to do, they brought their themselves and their skills and what they can offer to the training. So we're early doors. we are just about ready to get some dates in the diary. We're going to practice. We've got a couple of dress rehearsals, and we've got these 4 themes. And we was talking through about, should we run these 4 themes in a day like today, or should we actually do what we've been doing and running some short sessions? So we're going to be running those 4 sessions, 45 minutes each. Young people will either be there present, there'll be recordings of them, there'll be some images, however they want to contribute around those 4 kind of areas. I think that's about us, Alice. I think it's be good for people to ask some questions, or maybe do some reflections, anything they want to say.
Yeah, that'd be good. I thanks, John. I've put first time round the wrongly typed email for Neoti, our colleague, but it's in the chat now correctly. And if you're interested in the training, please do email her, because the young people are designing the publicity at the moment, and then we'll be sort of rolling that training out. Yeah, I think it might be useful. The next bit of the workshop is a video by our, well, I say colleague really, because Harry Giorgio doesn't work in NDTi. He works in DFN Project Search. He's a young person, and he has done a short video about co-production, which we'd like to share with you. But actually, before that, it would be really lovely if anyone here, I've seen some great information in the chat as well about work that people are doing, from Rachel in Northamptonshire, the local health provider, and the children and young people's participation. Oh God, it's time for a break. Participation team. So please feel free to just use a few minutes if you'd like to chip in, or if this work resonates with you, or indeed ask questions. Thanks.
We're a small enough group for people to come off mic, isn't it? Really, we're not a big group.
Okay, John, don't interrupt when people ask questions, please.
As soon as you teed me up, Alice, I'm Rachel from Northamptonshire. So I just made mention of something that our health provider has got in place. They've got a children and young people's participation team. So they have a lead for that team. And they've got a whole variety of just participation activities that they do, because they're trying to introduce it as co-production, common practice, hearing children's voices. So not all of the activities they do are with children and young people with additional needs, but many of them are, or the activities that they're actually engaging relate to services for those children. So very much they've done all sorts of things, like they've done a piece of work where they were asked to co-produce what it feels like to go into one of our main children's hubs. So actually sort of co-producing the environment, you know, the information, the colours, schemes, so stuff like that. They've done fairly low level, more sort of simple things like information, leaflets, but very much, here's a service, here's some work we're doing on who wants to help us move it forward. And they've got quite a few social events attached to it as well, pizzas and thank yous, etc. They've got a youth advisory board, a board, if you like. They have social events. A lot of it is across all children and young people services, but a lot of it is SEND related. So yeah, more than happy to sort of share the link with that. It's not been set up specifically SEND related,
no,
but SEND is integrated throughout it, which is fantastic.
Thanks, Rachel. I really like the point you've made actually about it being for all young people, because in the last workshop we spoke about, you know, how do you adapt it for different needs? And actually, as John said, we try and move away from needs and make something universally adaptable for a mixed group, which kind of has such big benefits for everyone in the group. So I think that's really useful and very relevant. Kay's just asked a question in the chat, which I think is useful. Perhaps, Kay, you'd like to just expand on it. So you're asking, are the young people running training on how to do co-production? John?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I might have just missed. I was like paying a lot of attention, but I thought, well, what are they doing the training on then?
Okay, John, over to you.
Yeah, I think it's I think the training that young people can deliver are on things why they want to do training, and they've come up with 4 themes. But I think there's some added value about the process that we've been through and sharing that in a way that people can say, oh, there's some top tips or some good ideas as well. So I think it's both really. So the young people were delivering training on 4 areas that why they want to do why they want to train. But I think the process that Barry, myself, and Alice has been through is worth sharing as well. So I know I'm going to be
So they're
writing
training on
a
this.
blog. So yeah, so I'm going to be writing a blog about my reflections about how we've really involved young people with that, and I think maybe there'll be something around that as well. Does that make sense, Alice? Sorry, that's my front door.
Oh, well, no,
some like fairy stuff or whatever.
I'm aware that Kay's looking a bit puzzled, and I can understand that you're kind of going, is this about how to do co-production and young people are telling you, or is it about something else?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were training young people so that they were then able to deliver on something that was important to them, but I wasn't sure what. Yeah, no, I've got lost, haven't I, completely? Anyone else with me, or am I on my own?
So no, that's fine. So young people have set the agenda why they want to. They've got messages to tell professionals, and that's the why bit. And so we've got 4 sessions where they will say these are the 4 things that really matter to us. You need to value us. You need to listen to our voice. You need to help us with decision making. You need to stay out of judgment. They're the things. So they're going to
They're the
deliver
things that they're
sessions on
training
that.
on. Right, got you.
Yeah, but I think there is how we've and I need to get my thoughts in order. I'm going to write a blog this month, but also there might be something around a little bit more around how we've kind of come to this outcome about young people delivering training and the processes that we've been through. Because I like the idea of actually, if you just co-produce with young people with additional needs, you're actually thinking about segregating, aren't you? I've got a real strong feeling about, you talk about inclusion for SEND, but actually, is that really inclusion? Should we be thinking about inclusion for all young people, the community? And I just, there is something there that we need to work through, and it's messy, Alice, isn't it, really? And it's not easy and it takes time, but I think sharing that about how we've been working with these young people will be really valuable for people to take away. A bit of a legacy, I guess, Alice, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that came from young people. We have one young person, for example, for whom the timing was really good for the support they got from Time to Talk Next Steps, and it triggered for them confidence enough to voice some of the issues that they felt needed to be conveyed around the education system. And in particular, the focus of their input was on annual reviews and having good meetings. And they were overflowing with things they wanted to influence, I suppose. And where I think we're incredibly privileged is that we were in a position to kind of go, great, yeah, right. So actually they wrote a resource which we were then able to share. They did a number of presentations and continue to do so. And then we tap into all of our national networks and people like yourselves and go, do you want to come and hear this young person speak about their views? So I think that's the premise of how we're working, Kay. Rather than them saying, well, it's interesting, actually, can I play Harry? Because then he's much more, he's different, and he's much more, I mean, he understands the word co-production, which John pointed out in the last workshop. A lot of young people haven't got a clue what that is, and actually it's a bit of a turn off. So I'm just going to play Harry, but I'll only be playing about 4 minutes of a longer video, so that we can just have a little tiny moment at the end of the session, if that's okay. So thumbs up. I'm going to look at Kay, not John, because John can't hear anything because he's on the wrong computer. So Kay, could you keep your camera on and give me a thumbs up if you can hear the video?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of for me, when we're being curious with people, trying to find
I'm sorry, I've cut Harry short, but that's exactly the question that he and I have been working on, really. What is co-production? And we're constantly reflecting on it. And at the moment, Harry's visiting some of the groups that we're running to bring the learning to the YAG group that he's setting up at DFN Project Search. So it's all kind of ongoing. We're learning a lot. And thanks, Kay, for your enthusiasm. Please do just email me and I'll put you in touch with Harry. So yeah, I suppose that's the end of our workshop. It would be lovely if you wanted to either come on camera and say something, or give us a little message in the chat before you leave. Our email addresses are on this final slide, which will be sent out by Marie. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, and fill out the evaluation form. Forgot about that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just put the link in the chat. Please do fill that out for us. Hope everyone's enjoyed the event and hope you have a good rest of the day. They will be sending an email out. It will either be Miri or Adiba with slides and links to recordings in due course.
Thanks, Penny.
My last thought is we wanted to show Harry's video, didn't we? And boy, does he know technology really well. And me and Alice, we were fumbling around, weren't we? Like anyway, so he was just so sharp and quick. And it is about, you know, just letting young people being fully empowered to be who they are, really. And boy, and he was quick and shared his video, and well, I'm still trying to work out how to access it, you know. So it's lovely to be together. We're better, aren't we? But together we do great things.
Thanks, John. Have a good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for coming to our workshop.
Thank you. It's been
Great stuff.
brilliant. Cheers.
Bye.